But I do feel that my father he was a short-tempered man, but he was a very good man. He's somebody who really loved his family, loved his work, loved his food, loved his alcohol. He was a very open person. Whatever he said, he could speak about it.
Did you think of him that way from the very beginning? Like growing up 1 to
No,
10?
Nikhil never saw his eye color. I was always like this. I was just like, yes. I never said no. I was so scared.
Like the movie Animal. I watched it. It was really good.
Animal, I was more obsessed with him.
Huh?
Here, I was scared of my dad. Like he never shouted at us. He never raised his hand. But just because around us, his temperament was so like volatile that it always scared me. So anybody who speaks in a louder tone from childhood, it started disturbing. My parents went through like shitloads of like fights. Where we live in a bungalow. So I've spent like most of my childhood on the staircases hearing them fight. So I was always a little scared. I was always on the edge. But I think both of them were going through a very rough patch. They both loved each other, and eventually they found beautiful companionship. When my father was suffering cancer and he was abroad, and I saw the kind of selfless service that my mother was doing for him. And that kind of love was something which I probably at that time wouldn't have imagined.
And in these confrontations, did you try and stop it, or did you partake in any manner?
Of course, many a times. And the thing is, it also happened when my sister just left for her further education. So she was not around, so I kind of felt responsible. And my mother really used to talk to me a lot about her feelings. My father was not an expressive person, so I never understood or heard his point of view. What was the issue? What was going on?
Why do you think he was the way he was?
I think that generation of men are scared of vulnerability. Yeah, like even like to express his love to me. He never could like hold my hand. Or, he would hug me, but his hug had it wasn't a hug. Maybe I'm blaming it that it's that generation, but I don't know. He just was very distant. I knew he loved me a lot. He cared a lot for me.
Do you
But there
think
was a
the
distance.
movies of the time define how very subconsciously the men of that generation want to be? Like, do you think the movies of your father's time subconsciously made him who he is, who he was?
I think that's how India was also, no? At that time. I mean, art imitates life, life imitates art. That goes on year by year. But I think back then, the kind of movies my father was doing, see, it was a way more forgiving audience. Cinema was like a very big medium, and it was, apart from cricket, it was the only source of entertainment at that time. So you could be doing 5 films a year on the same subject, the same story. Lost and Found, it was the same thing, but they were just doing the same stuff. So they were very forgiving. In today's day and age, they're not forgiving.
Beyond childhood, okay, we established you had avoidant attachment, a bit like me.
Yeah.
Hate confrontation to a certain extent. Great relationship with sister.
Great relationship with my mother. Not so great with my father. Distant, but loved and respected him. Stopped crying very early on. And I just stopped crying. Yeah, that's my childhood. Funny, I didn't even cry when my father passed away. I know that when the doctor told me the night that I was in the hospital, I was spending the night there. I stayed there for quite some time. And he said that this is his last night and he's going to go anytime soon. I remember I went up to the room and I got a panic attack because I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't know what was happening. There was too much to take. But I don't think I've grieved. I don't think I've understood the loss. I mean, losing one of your parent is a very big moment in anybody's
Do you feel
life.
guilt?
I feel guilt as he felt while he was going away. Because that 1 year that we spent together in New York while his treatment was on, he often spoke about that. One day, I was there for like 45 days stretch and he came to my room and he just started crying and he's never showed that kind of weakness to me. And it was so awkward for me because I didn't know if I should go hold him, I should hug him. And I really realized the distance. And I feel guilty that I didn't have the grace to let go of the distance or the glass between us and go and hug him or give him some love. So I have guilt for that. Yeah, also, you've been brought up saying that now you're responsible and this and that. There's certain things that play in your mind. I have a mother, sister, wife, a child, and my father passes away. Can I show my weakness? I don't know what it is, but I just didn't cry. My father was always against the films I was doing. He was like, ये क्या है? ये क्या picture कर रहा है? Wake Up Sid, Barfi, Rockstar, Rocket Singh. So he was not a big fan of these films. But and I know where he came from. He was like, listen, India is a very big country, and Wake Up Sid is not going to reach India. It's going to reach your main cities maximum. But if you really want to be a bona fide star of India, you got to be in more commercial movies. But then I realized that whenever I tried a commercial movie, it never really worked out for me, is because the intention was, let's do something bigger. The intention of believing in a story and character was always something which worked well for me and works well for anybody, actually. Eventually, you will only become a star or a superstar if you're a good actor, if your work is good. So I just focused on my work.
Which movie was your dad proud of?
I think the first movie he was proud of was two movies. One was Ajab Prem Ki Gazab Kahani, which I shot simultaneously with Wake Up Sid, and which I at that time was looking down upon. Because Wake Up Sid was this cool film with young filmmakers and young ADs with walkie-talkies, and Ajab Prem Ki Gazab Kahani was directed by Rajkumar Santoshi. He's a very, very prolific director. But all the assistant directors were elder than him. But today I have so much of understanding of what the effect of that film is, more than a Wake Up Sid. So he was part of Ajab Prem Ki Gazab Kahani, and there was another political film I did called Rajniti.
I love that movie.
Yeah. Also, I guess because these were big hits, so that's why he also liked them. And then right after that, I remember when he saw like Rockstar and all, he called me and said, "वो end में क्या होता है? वो लड़की जिंदा है कि मर गई?" I don't think he got that film. When he saw Barfi, he said, "हाँ, तू acting तो अच्छी करता है, but अभी now do some more popular movies." Jawani Diwani, he didn't understand, but he understood the success of it, so he was very happy. And then I guess when he saw Sanju, he was very happy. These are the films he liked. I guess the commercial successful films. I unfortunately did a very bad film with my parents called Besharam. We all three were part of it, but it was really a bad film. So that was not a good experience.
Whose opinion matters the most when a movie comes out?
See, I always believe my mother is my biggest fan. So she will always like everything that I do. My father was a little bit, he became too cliche, his opinion. To a point where he was so scared to watch my films. I did a film called Tamasha with Imtiaz Ali. He didn't watch it because he thought it was too pseudo. So he's like, instead of me giving my opinion, let me not watch these pseudo films only. So that kind of fear was always there about what he would think about a movie. But no, I think an audience's reaction has always been, because it's see, I'm in a industry or an occupation where there is an immediate result.
Correct.
You do a film and there's a result.
It's a hit or a flop.
It's a hit or a flop. Like I've done a film called Rocket Singh, Salesman of the Year, which was a big disaster. There are many people who come now and say, "Oh, that was such a wonderful film," but the audience didn't like it, and audience is king. If audience doesn't like something, means there's something wrong in the film. Otherwise, there's no reason for them not to watch the film. So I think the audience's validation. It took me time to realize that, but it's their validation or their opinion which matters the most to me.
So how many films done now?
I've been working since 16 years, and I have had Animal, I think was my 20th release. So which is not a lot of movies. I should have been on my 40th film, but most of my films take a lot of time. So 20 films in 16 years.
They say whenever you get a lot of a good thing, something else goes away. Something bad also happens. Successful in professional life, I think you're at some kind of a peak today, right? Like a bunch of stuff you've done has worked. What has gone away? It's come at the cost of what?
See, the thing is, I'm in a service industry. I'm providing entertainment. And being in that industry, I take it as an honor and not sacrifice. So I look at it that way. I've sacrificed childhood friends. I've sacrificed home life. I've sacrificed a life. I don't have a life. I'm on a movie set or I'm preparing for a movie. I'm now saying pre my daughter's birth. That was my life. But it doesn't feel like a sacrifice because I genuinely love what I do. I love being on a set. I love acting. I love telling a story. I'm sure there've been a lot of sacrifices, but it doesn't feel like a sacrifice because if I had to go back, I would still choose the same way.
What does it mean to be a superstar? Like when you go somewhere and you see the reaction that you get, what does it do? Not the superficial thought, but deep down, what does it do for you? And what will happen if it goes away?
Of course, it's the greatest feeling in the world, when you get love. You're receiving love. You're receiving love from people who you don't know. They look at you and they smile at you and their eyes light up. And that feeling is amazing. But I can't get too attached to it. And this, of course, I've realized very early on because I grew up in a film family and I've seen so much of successful people. But at the same time, I've seen so many failures. My family has generations of successful actors and failed actors. So I know why the people failed. I studied it, from a very young age. I was noticing everything. I was noticing my father, that he didn't like getting bothered. And if a fan came to ask him for an autograph or a picture, he very rudely turned to them and said, "No, I'm not interested in doing that." And I always, sitting on the other side of the table, looked at that fan's face, and that fans used to look at my father with so much of disdain and disappointment that I was like, "Listen, I don't think I have the ability to say no to somebody. If somebody wants to take a picture with me or take an autograph, I'll be more than happy to do it." So I don't take this job for granted. I know what success is. I know what failure is. I'm very balanced about it. Anyways, the person I am, I've never felt an extreme high and I don't feel extreme lows. So if it's a successful film, it's more like, bach gaye till the next one comes. And if it's a failure, it's like, shit, let's try harder again.
If you were to be given a wish unrelated to family,
A professional wish?
a professional or a personal wish unrelated to family, if Ranbir today can wish for one thing, what would it be?
I'll wish for my father to come back so I can spend more time with him, speak to him, have conversations with him.
Do your parents, does your dad show up in your life? In your personality? Do you often do something and feel like this is so like my dad?
Yeah, I think so. Now I'm feeling that, Certain things like how he used to yawn, I yawn, he makes a certain sound. So there are a lot of things that I started believing that I emulate him. But my personality is more like my mother's. She's been someone who's very calm and happy, and so it's more like her.
Hi, I'm Nikhil Kamath. I'd love to know what you thought of the episode. Comment, like, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.